Henry, do you remember your emotions when you first tried ChatGPT?
Oh yeah, I think the first time I tried ChatGPT was kind of wow. Now finally we have an AI that is actually really impressive because until ChatGPT there was many AI tools. I've been playing around with Alexa, for example, for a while. I even programmed some Alexa apps, and that people used to call it AI, but it was way underdeveloped when compared to ChatGPT, right? So when ChatGPT came, it was quite mind blowing that you could ask literally anything and you'll get a fairly accurate answer. So it was very mind blowing. Yeah. Now it's got kind of normal, right? And now there are tons of AIs. There are AIs that are apparently more accurate than ChatGPT. But yeah, the I think the emotion was like, wow, exciting.
Do you remember your first use case? What were you trying to do like on your first try
Hmm.
with ChatGPT?
Oh, I don't know. I think I just started to ask random questions to see.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I remember, I think probably you did the same. You start trying to stretch the capabilities of the AI, asking very complex stuff or asking things that are usually seen as a taboo, right? More
Mm-hmm.
edgy questions or questions a bit more spicy and see if the AI answers or not. But the thing is that many of these AIs, including ChatGPT, Claude, they are censored, right? Which is a bit sad, but there are other AIs out there that they are not censored, and that's why at the moment, I think at the moment I'm using every day. I use 5 different AIs, AI chatbots, AI assistants, and why I use 5 different AI assistants every single day. It's because each one of them is good at certain things, right? For example, ChatGPT, it's a more generalistic AI, but sometimes also has some hallucinations. Sometimes it's not super accurate. So you always need a second opinion. So my first go-to AI is ChatGPT, but when I need a second opinion, I go to Claude from Anthropic, and I get Claude giving me a second opinion. Like for
Mm,
example, I'm
interesting.
writing on a text and I want a second opinion on the grammar or flow of the text. I always ask both. And when I need to do research, when I need to research a
Mm-hmm.
topic or getting an answer that is up to date, I use Grok, because Grok is basically it's 100% up to date and also has access to all the uh, previously Twitter data. So if you want to ask something that is really up to date, Grok is the go-to AI. Then if you need something that is uncensored, okay, again, because uh, Grok is a little bit less uncensored than Claude and ChatGPT. But if you want to ask, for example, something about Xi Jinping or something very political or something with a little
Mm-hmm.
bit more like spicy sexual content, they refuse to answer, right? So when I want to ask something in an uncensored manner, I go to Venice AI, which is
Mm-hmm.
an AI that was founded by Eric Voorhees. He's a Bitcoin OOOG, and he created this AI because, like nowadays we start to have a lot of censorship. Censorship is a problem, of course, in on the internet, generally speaking, but when it comes to these new tools that everyone is using, being censored or being biased, it's kind of a big problem. So having access to an uncensored AI is kind of also important. So I have the Venice AI to ask things that Claude or ChatGPT will refuse to answer. I would really like to invite you to explore it, because like you can even ask, for example, if you go to ChatGPT and ask something like, give me a rude joke, or like like something like that, the AI will refuse to answer. But if you go to Venice and ask, to give me a rude joke, it will give you a rude joke with rude words and like yeah. So yeah,
Mm.
those are the AIs that I use, and then I use also kind of quite a bit Grammarly. Although Grammarly, I don't know if we can call it an AI. It has nowadays a very big AI component, so you can ask Grammarly to do more stuff. Yeah, so like those are the AIs that I'm quite getting dependent on.
Okay, and so you have quite an impressive background. You've been Web3 researcher and educator for many years. You worked as a senior researcher for Hashkey. You have your own educational business. You do a lot of research in AI. So, how did these tools? I mean, obviously, you started that way before all these tools appeared. So, how did these tools actually impact your work?
On the research side, these AI tools are quite useful, usually to kickstart research, right? Most of these tools, again, if you want to do very deep research, they are not like super useful because typically when it comes to Web3, crypto, in even AI itself, these technologies move very, very, very fast. And AI assistants like ChatGPT and Claude, they are not up to date. So if you want to go and do research using these tools, you will not go very far, or you'll just simply get data that is already super common and out there. But
Hmm.
still, it's interesting to kind of initially outline your research, and then from there you can actually go and dig deeper and read papers and so on and try to get more information. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree on the kind of outdated information. And in general, like I personally don't consider these tools as something that contains knowledge. I mean, they contain some knowledge, but I think their main strengths is reasoning. But then we have
Mhm.
tools like Perplexity, which is basically joining the reasoning and the up to date data. Are you using Perplexity in any way in your work?
No, I'm not using Perplexity. I guess maybe similar to Perplexity. I don't know if you have used Grok, but because Grok is quite up to date and get to all the X information, so that's kind of what I use for up to date information. Yeah. Or you can
Yeah,
train your
I
own
mean,
AI if you want to first. Yeah.
yeah, I use Grok. Frankly, for my use cases, I didn't find it useful. Uh, but I mean, I understand that in like Web3 research, it may be extremely useful. But Perplexity, I wouldn't consider them as kind of competitors. I think that so while Grok is, as far as I know, it only uses the up-to-date Twitter data. It doesn't use like all other data. While Perplexity
Mhm.
is a kind of an AI search engine. So basically finds the relevant documents and then gives you the answer plus all the links to all of these documents. So this potentially might be very beneficial for research.
Yeah, I'll definitely check out Perplexity. Yeah, that sounds very interesting.
Yeah, that in terms of reasoning, obviously they're using like much simpler models than say Claude, the latest Claude or GPT-4o. But yeah, for now that's what we have basically. Yeah, we need to one tool doesn't solve all of the problems, but we have like
Mhm.
the tools to solve the problem. We just need to kind of use various tools for various parts of the job.
Yeah, yeah. By the way, have you used the GPT-4o image capabilities?
Yes, and
Have you tried
actually,
it?
that's it's interesting that you asked because once Claude Sonnet 3.5 was released, the first day, the first thing I was testing, and I was basically comparing the visual capabilities of 4.0 and Sonnet. And like once 4 or released, I was also trying visual capabilities. They were just amazing. But comparing to Sonnet, like Sonnet is so much better. Like I
Mm.
did a few tests, like just random ones. For example, I sent both AIs the same prompt and an image, a photo where I'm dancing on some festival in Brazil, like with a girl. So I was curious if any of these models will be able to identify the place where it was shot, this photo. I mean, at the country. And
Mhm.
interestingly enough, 4O failed. It just gave me like general, like, oh, that seems like they have palm trees, so it's possibly like some warm country and stuff like that. While Sonnet also gave similar reasoning, but a bit more in depth. But it actually gave, I think, two, three specific options, and the first one was Brazil.
Wow.
And then I asked, like in my community, I asked people to do similar tests. And a few people did the tests on their photos, like similar ones, where there is very limited information about the place, but there are some hints. And they also managed to basically, with Sonnet, to identify the country. And it was pretty impressive.
Interesting. And on that image where you are in Brazil, do you have like any Brazilian elements, like a Brazilian flag, Brazilian
No,
color?
no,
No.
there was nothing of that kind. I actually can maybe pop up the photo now.
Yeah.
And yeah, there was nothing. I mean, maybe I missed it. I can kind of let's see, let's
Yeah.
see. I don't
I
think.
also tested, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, go for it.
I also tested GPT-4o quite a bit with images, and it's quite impressive. I also like, of course, like I live in Hong Kong, right? And maybe Hong Kong buildings are better well known. So, but you can take a photo of a building, ask what building is this, and GPT-4o knows quite well. Or even things like ask directions. You take a photo of a street and ask, how can I go from here to the ferry pier, for example? And it's going to tell you, hey, go to this road, turn left, walk for 5 minutes, turn right, and so on. It's quite cool. And then you can
Hmm.
do also other things. Like I was playing around with it. Like you can take a photo of your meal and ask what's the nutritional profile of this meal, and it's going to break down all the nutrients that you have in that dish. Like it's quite useful. Oh, I did this one also. It can also be a very good like fashion advisor. So I took a photo of my wardrobe with shirts and
Uh-huh.
pants and all that stuff, and asked, "Okay, I'm going on a date with my girlfriend. Can you tell me what to wear?" And it was quite good. Like told me like, "Okay, wear this shirt combining with these pants with brown shoes."
Nice, nice, nice. So yeah,
Okay, so
so
this photo,
yeah,
yeah, is
this
very
is the photo.
impressive. Yeah, to say that it knows about that it's in Brazil.
Yeah, that was crazy actually. And like now, like looking more attentively into it, there is literally nothing that can point to that other than okay, the girl like more dark skin, but I mean there are many countries. So
Yeah.
basically, maybe it used the mix of dark color, like more curly hair. Yeah, I cannot imagine what else could it have
Yeah,
used.
because this could be like 50 different countries almost, right? It's
Yeah,
like, yeah. By
yeah.
the way, are you Brazilian?
No, no, I'm Russian. I lived in Brazil for a
Ah,
couple of years.
oh, okay, okay, okay. Awesome, awesome.
Yes, it was impressive. Another test I've done was, and this one was actually for me, as at least even more mind blowing. So I pulled up another picture, and I think I have it also. Let me check. Oh, okay, yeah, here it is. So this is a picture of a optical illusion, pretty famous one. Okay, here we go. You see it now, right?
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
Yeah, so basically, there are two figures, kind of monster, humanoid type, I don't know. And this one seems bigger, right?
Yeah, yeah.
The one at the back seems bigger.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
in reality, they're exactly the same. So I basically asked both GPT-4o and Claude to tell me which one is larger, which of the figures is larger. So
Mm-hmm.
what GPT-4o answered me was kind of the standard, encyclopedical type of information because it knows that picture. It basically was trained on it, so it knows this picture, and it was explaining, okay, this one seems larger because that's an optical illusion because of these lines, but they're actually the same. So what Claude gave me, which may point to a few different things, but each of them is very interesting. So it didn't tell me it knew the solution. It just started to reason, and then basically concluded that they're the same. But the interesting thing, so it didn't mention that it knows the illusion. After that, I asked
Mm-hmm.
it told me, yeah, I know the illusion, and which is very different behavior from GPT, which whenever it recognizes something, even if the question was not about kind of what this picture is about, it actually will mention this kind of encyclopedical type of information. Claude
Yeah.
didn't do that, which in my mind can point to either just very different behavior that the developers put into it, or kind of um, as if it, for me it also seems like as if it was trying to conceal the fact that it knows it, and it's like showing that it's actually guessing rather than knowing the response.
Yeah, yeah, like you said, I think Claude, Claude Sonnet has been tested, and when they compare it to the benchmarks, it performs. It is the best performing AI in terms of understanding and reasoning. Um, have you seen? I just shared with you this link, the massive multitask language understanding. I think this was developed by the Stanford
Sorry, sorry.
University.
Oh, okay. Wait, let me pull it up as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So this,
MMLU. Yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
and basically, yeah, clause at the moment, at least at the moment, things change very rapidly. But at the moment, it scores the best on different metrics that they use to uh, to score the AIs. Yeah.
Uh, yeah. So obviously, I saw
Yeah.
all of these kind of rankings, and on most, not only MMLU, but some other rankings, the Claude is beating GPT-4o. The problem with these rankings, though, is that kind of the new models, they are this model the tests are kind of public, so these models could have been trained on that
Yeah.
data, and that's why performing better. But there is
Oh.
another metric. Have you heard of the arc prize? Have you heard of this one, arc prize?
I'm not sure if I heard of that
Okay,
one.
so I'll pull it up as well. So this one was actually created way before like the emergence of ChatGPT and stuff like that, and it is super simple. So you can see how it works. Basically, here we have the examples. Let me check if I can somehow make it bigger. No, it doesn't seem I can make it bigger. So yeah, on the left we have the examples. So
Mhm.
the example of the input and the example of the output. And on the right, do you see my? Okay, so you should see my mouse now, right?
Yeah, yeah, I can see. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So the input and what the output should be. Again, another example of the input and the output, and the actual test. The input, and we or LLM should guess what the output should be. So that
Mhm.
these types of puzzles, they are super easy to solve even by like by kids. Like for example, here we can see that it's like triangle, triangle, and it's just adding another square, just
Mhm.
another
Mhm.
color. Here it's the same. So triangles adding one more square. So we can
Yeah.
basically solve this one easily. We just copy the same and just add here the dark blue squares. The interesting thing is that though for an average human and even a kid, these are pretty simple challenges. None of the existing LLMs does better than 30% on this. Human do I think 80 or 90%.
Interesting.
So yeah, and basically they have like now $1 million worth of prize for anyone who will be able to build an LLM that will, I think, pass the 80% mark on this, because what they think and what their kind of point is that this is an actual reasoning. So while current LLMs, they're just what's called stochastic parrots, they're basically just trained on large texts and they can regurgitate these texts, but they cannot really reason. While solving these kind of puzzles doesn't require any knowledge at all, but it requires the reasoning. So, I mean, that's their point. I'm maybe not completely agree with them that the current LLMs cannot reason, but they definitely cannot reason to the point to solve these simple puzzles.
Yeah, exactly. I think you are absolutely right because, like, the HELM Stanford leaderboard that I have shared with you, it only it's only testing for LLM related, like language related stuff, because they test for anatomy, college chemistry, computer security, econometrics, global facts, philosophy, medicine, US foreign policy. And none of these are about reasoning, like the one
Yeah,
that you, the test that you share here. So yeah, yeah, definitely. This is probably like the ultimate test um, to show that AIs are not like one-dimensional understanding. They don't just understand text and what's the word that comes after another word, but actually understand logic. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And so they have, I think, a leaderboard now. And where was that? Grant, Arpegia. Leave leaderboard. Okay. Yeah, I think they have the leaderboard somewhere, and I think Sonnet was slightly better on this one than
Mhm.
GPT-4o, but it was still marginally better. It was like maybe 1-2% or something like that. Nothing like critical. So it will be interesting to watch how this kind of plays out. And
Yeah.
this challenge is created by um, like a data scientist from one of these big companies and the Zapier founder.
Interesting. And it says here that the ARC prize imposes intentional constraints. So no internet access. So no GPT-4,
Yeah,
no
yeah,
Claude.
yeah. Yeah, as
That's
far
very
as I
interesting. That's
understand,
very interesting.
I didn't dive too deep into how it's technically done, but it seems like that if you basically want to participate in that kind of challenge, the the actual puzzles are generated on the go, so they're not stored anywhere, or maybe even if they are not generated on the go, they're just done by they are kind of, you get them through API. So basically, they will know if somebody leaked that information into public, and basically the models started to be like, all the models started to be very good at that puzzle, will just know that it's actually that they learned these specific puzzles and not uh, the actual reasoning. So it's very very
Yeah.
interesting one.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah, I'm super excited to see like AI is doing other stuff and using other kinds of data other than just text and words, right? Um, and talking about text and words, I'm also going to share with you this other article that I wrote recently
Okay.
about the ChatGPT 4.0 use cases because it's still quite interesting. And about like reasoning, if you scroll down through this article, I present the AI with a chart and actually
Mm-hmm.
understands the chart quite well. So it's a chart to illustrate how variability.
Ooh, ooh. Sorry,
Yeah.
I pushed the wrong button, and for 1 second I removed you from the from the
Oh,
screen,
no worries, no
but it
worries.
was just
So
yeah.
I asked ChatGPT GPT-4o about this chart. It is basically a chart that would show that when you add variability to something, you
Mm-hmm.
have a higher upside than you have more gains than you have pain. So if you scroll down a little bit more, okay, this is the nutritional use case. You take a photo of your plate and ask for the nutritional profile, and then this one, um,
Oh, which this
the
one?
one
Yeah.
that we, yeah, yeah. So
Okay.
I would say this is kind of related to the understanding logic,
Mm-hmm.
because you see that the answer is actually quite uh, good. You have a chart with one of the axes you have gains and losses, the other axis you have variability, and the more variability you add to something, the more gain you can eventually have. Right? Imagine like you are
Mm-hmm.
investing in a stock market. If you invest only in the S&P 500, you know that you will get only on average 10% a year returns. But if you invest on a totally randomly picked stock, you might have some downside. You might lose maybe like 50%, but you can also perform extremely well. There are some stocks that in 1 year can perform 100, 200, 300% across all the stocks, or the same in crypto, right? If you
Mm-hmm.
just invest in Bitcoin will go up maximum like 100% in 1 year, right? But if you pick a totally random crypto, you might lose everything, but you might also do 10x, right? So that was kind of the chart, like more variability you add to a system, the more gain you can eventually have. And so it's kind of a complex, concept to understand, but in this case, GPT-4o quite understood it well. Yeah.
Hmm. Interesting. Any other examples you wanna mention here in this article?
Uh,
Fitness,
I
which
well, there are some interesting, uh,
yeah, this one is
but well,
interesting.
yeah,
That muscle groups.
yeah. Take a photo. This is actually my girlfriend exercising, and ask like, what exercise is this, and what groups does it train? What muscles does it train?
And did
And
you
then
check
describe.
that if he is correct in this?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's actually correct. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. In
Cultural
the same
maturity.
article, I also take a photo of my fridge and ask, with the ingredients that I have inside the fridge, what can I cook? Give me a recipe. And
Huh.
actually gives an interesting recipe. This is also the article where I have the wardrobe. And I ask, like, what can I wear? Um, can you be my fashion advisor?
Oh, okay.
So
That's
now imagine like Now the user experience is still a bit clunky, right? Because you need to take a photo of your phone with your phone, send it to the
Mm-hmm.
AI, ask the question. But imagine a few years from now, once everyone has like a Neuralink implant inside their brain. Imagine you have a Neuralink implant. You are wearing your glasses that have a camera, and you look at anything, and you are instantly connected to your AI. And these AIs will become more and more personal because, like, I think we will evolve to have more and more personal AIs, more that are totally tailor made for yourself. Because at the
Mm-hmm.
moment, like ChatGPT, Claude, and etc., they are very general AIs, but you can already go and train your own AI. Right? You can train, get Llama, for example, get a model and train the model with whatever text you want, and with it will reply according to your knowledge. Or also, for example, I have invested in this company called Personal AI. I think the website is actually personal.ai. You can also check that one. I don't know if you check if you read about personal AI before.
As a
And I think this,
concept or as a specific company?
oh, kind of both actually. In this case, it's a company and it's also
This
a
one?
concept. Yeah, this one precisely. So personal
Okay.
AI, I
Okay.
think this is super interesting because you should definitely check it out. But basically, personal AI is an LLM model where you train your personal AI with your data. You feed your AI with your memories. And these memories can be text that you wrote. For example, I have the Medium blog, right? On this Medium blog, I wrote over 300 different posts where I talk about AI, I talk about crypto, I talk about investing. So I can feed all these data to my personal AI. I can feed data from my text messages. I can feed tons of different data. And then you can go and ask a question to my personal AI. And my personal AI will reply to you as if it's me. And it will really
Mhm.
sound like me. I had this crazy experience. I was talking with the founder of this company, Personal AI. His name is Suman, and I text him via email or something because I was investing in this company, uh, and he sent me his personal AI link and told me, "Oh, text me on personal AI, on my personal AI." And I text him, and I got immediately his reply, but it was not really his reply; it was the AI's reply. But the answer was like so realistic. And then there is a little button that you can click to listen to the audio, and
Mhm.
it's really his voice. So it was like, I was, for a few minutes I was confused. I was like, did it write this answer, or was it the AI? It was like ultimate Turing test, like I was so confused if that answer was from the AI or from him, because it really sounded like him
Mm.
because it was trained on his data.
Can
So I
we
think
try
this
to
is,
use your link now? Did you have it handy?
yeah, I created an account, but I didn't train uh,
Oh, okay.
yeah, yet, so it will sound like just a normal LLM. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but the use cases, I think, can be really immense, because imagine you, Tony, you have a podcast, you have an audience, you have a community, and people want to engage with you, right? But you cannot be online 24/7. You need to take some time off, or um, or imagine like celebrities and so on. So you can feed your personal data from chats, from the audio transcripts of your podcasts, uh, text
Mm-hmm.
that you write, your blog, and so on. Feed it to your personal AI and give this link to your followers, and your followers can talk with you on personal AI. And you can also go, you human, and answer there. But if you are offline, your personal AI will answer on your behalf. And the user, the person, doesn't even notice that it was the AI, because he's like so good at answering.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
you can also create like, yeah.
can you kind of create separate links? For example, that will limit the information. For example, you uploaded like a lot of information, but some of information you want to kind of be available through a personal AI to some type of audience, some information to other. Is it possible to kind
Mhm.
of create restricted AIs based on your data?
Yeah, definitely. So you can create different AI personas. So you can have Tony, the AI expert. You can have
Hmm.
Tony, the gardener. Imagine you have a part time. You like gardening. You like
Hmm.
plants, and
Hmm.
you have a blog about gardening. You can have Tony, the gardener, and you can even have Tony, the Casanova. Imagine you have 10 different girlfriends, and you want to be able to talk with all of them at the same time. Whatever is the use case, you can create different Tony personas, and you train
Hmm.
these AIs according to what according to your goal.
Hmm. But these will be like separate ones. Can you kind of create one big persona and create separate kind of chats and just say, okay, for this chat, only my information about my AI expertise should be available. Through this chat, like all the information should be available and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah. So when you create these personas, like say you create the Tony, the AI persona,
Mm-hmm.
AI expert persona, and this
Mm-hmm.
link, you can give this link to different people. Each person will see their individual chat with you, and
Mm-hmm.
that cat will only include your the data related to your Tony, the AI expert. And maybe
Mm-hmm.
you like also gardening, and you train the Tony, the gardening expert, and you can share this link of the Tony AI
Mm-hmm.
gardening expert with someone that you want to share your gardening knowledge with. So you can definitely do that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And is it mainly kind of reactive? So is it only working on the incoming, or it also can kind of, I can tell it, I know, go find me a cool restaurant I like, or maybe
Um,
go book me a table at some restaurant.
And not at the moment. I think they want to the AI to have that kind of capabilities, but at the moment is more the main goal at the moment is more like so that you can have your personal AI out there representing you when people reach out to
Mm-hmm.
you and you are not online. At the moment, that's the main goal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I think they are working on that kind of workflow, right? Like your AI learns that you like Italian restaurants in Bali.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you could go and ask your uh, Tony AI to go and book the Italian restaurant close to you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the reason I asked, we actually, with a friend of mine, we actually now kind of developing a small tool initially to solve our own problem. So I live in Indonesia, and like here to get some service, like for example, you find some, you want to do like 3D printing, for example, of you have a file of a 3D model and you want to 3D print it. For you to actually get the information from any given vendor, which you found, say, on Google Maps, is an absolute nightmare because
Mhm.
people here, they are not efficient communicators, to say the least. And basically you spend like like you need tens of messages to actually get to the point, to the answer to your initial question, was which was super simple, super straightforward. So we're building a thing where we want to basically just tell our agent, go find me the quotes, the time needed and the cost associated with printing out this model, say in Jakarta. So it just goes, finds all the vendors in Jakarta, messages them on WhatsApp, go through all this hell of going back and forth, and I just get basically the final result.
Mhm. Yeah, that's really amazing. Yeah, and can it message? It is only message at the moment, so only text based.
Uh, yeah, so basically the proof of concept we're building is for the it's only for text based, and for now it's just like for finding information from multiple vendors on Google Maps. But obviously, if we see there is like kind of some interesting perspectives here, we'll add, like, for example, it may also learn information about you in terms of like your preferences. And for example, I tell it, book me a table today at a Japanese restaurant I haven't been yet to, or book me
Mm.
a table at a restaurant I probably will like, but I haven't tried this cuisine yet in Bali, for example. And it basically goes and finds voice, obviously, yeah, if it goes well and if we see that there is kind of demand for this, we can add that. But for now, it's just kind of, it's, that build fast and check how it works. We're not thinking of it as a product yet.
But I was just thinking, like, could you use this product for a use case like being your procurement agent? Imagine
Yeah, yeah.
you.
The first use case is exactly this. Is exactly this.
That,
Yeah.
oh, that will be absolutely amazing because imagine you want to find someone to manufacture. You are in manufacturing and you want to produce a shirt, a microphone, whatever is a product,
Mhm.
and there are like 50 different manufacturers out there. But it's hard to talk with them, different languages, especially like in China, right?
Also,
Broken English and so on. So you send your AI out there, go find me a good supplier or a good manufacturer of like this kind of fabric, whatever, and
yeah, yeah.
it
That's
comes
that's
back to
exactly
you.
what we're building.
Oh, that would be absolutely amazing use case. Yeah.
Yeah, let's see. I mean, it's just at least a fun ride to kind of collaboratively work on this kind of cool thing, and it's not very difficult to implement. So yeah, definitely
Yeah.
fun thing to do.
Let me know once it's ready. I would love to try it out.
Sure, sure, sure. Will do. Um, okay, so you've been advising startups over your career and mentoring, and like you invest in startups. So what do you see? What are the main kind of mistakes the startups that are trying to go into the AI market are making these days, which make them either uninvestable or they're just going completely like wrong direction, stuff like that.
Hmm. Mistakes that startups do. Um, well, I think many times is about not keeping it simple. Sometimes startups want to do, founders, of course, like you as a founder, you might be perfectionist, you want to do as much as possible, and founders sometimes tend to really overpromise. Okay, I want to do this and this and this and that, like, and wait a second, like, when you want to find oil, you dig uh, 1 meter wide, 1 kilometer deep, right? You don't dig 1 kilometer wide and 1 meter deep. You need to have like more laser focus to make something work. So um, I had in the past, while I was at Hashkey, and talk like with hundreds of projects. Nowadays, I still talk with a lot of projects, and usually, um, the one of the things that is kind of a red flag is when a startup wants to focus on too many things at the same time. Right? I had this one day. I had a it was a kind of a high profile, some high profile names. They came to us, and it was a gaming studio, and
Hmm.
they wanted to create like a platform like uh, Steam for gaming, like a gaming marketplace. They also want to develop the gaming Web3 infrastructure. so that have can have like integrate Web3 different Web3 wallets and different games. They were also developing three different games, and they also wanted to develop a console to play the games. It's like, whoa, wait a second, like how many people do you have? Like, is your startup? Do you have like 500 people working in your startup? No, it's like 10. Okay, so can you maybe focus on like what really matters, right? Like, what's your core business? What's going to bring most value? And maybe this was also something that I learned while I was a project manager, right? When you are developing a product, there are a lot of features, there are a lot of requests from users, but users at the end in any app use like 20% of the features of that app. So if you try to put everything inside that app uh, to do everything that the users want, users at the end will only use 20%. So maybe it's better you focus on those 20% that will bring most results rather than like trying to develop everything and making it perfect. Yeah. So I think like keep it simple. It's the first thing. Really nail it what you want to do and keep it simple. Yeah.
Yeah, was smiling all the time you were telling about this, because for me it's like a personal kind of pain, because a couple of years ago we were also doing a startup and we basically did all of these mistakes. But here the question comes, how to, because I was even understanding that at the moment, but it's still, how do you prepare yourself? Okay, no. Why do you think this happens, like psychologically? Why people, even if they heard that it's impossible to it's important to focus, they still kind of try to chase everything and everything.
Yeah, I also fall into the same mistake, right? Now, for the last 2 months, I've been, developing my own thing, and we get distracted with shiny objects. Like there is always something exciting coming.
Hmm.
And I think, Steve Jobs said something like one of the most important things in business is to say no so that you can focus on what's really important. I'm probably assassinating his real quotes, but it's basically he said you need to say a lot of no's, and even you even need to turn down good ideas to focus on what's really really important, right? Because like yeah, we get excited. Rationally speaking, maybe some of these ideas make sense, and then you want to do everything, but we don't have the resources to do like literally everything and nail everything. So it's really important to focus. There is this book from Keller Williams, the one thing. The
Hmm.
one thing is a book like really that kind of opened my eyes a few years ago when I read it, and the book basically talks about like you if you focus on the one thing that brings you most results, whatever is your business. You can be a
Hmm.
content creator, you can be a developer, can be a property agent. If you focus on that one activity that will bring you 80% of the results, you will succeed, right? Instead of focusing on 10 different activities that might bring or not like results.
Maybe this kind of mistake comes from the fear that if you, because in the startup world, basically a startup is something where you are testing something new nobody have done before. So probably people fear that, like kind of to put all the eggs in one basket, and fear to fail. If they, maybe out of the 100 ideas, maybe this one looks nice now, but maybe in the end it won't be that nice. So do you have any advice how to battle this fear?
Yeah, I don't think I have a good advice. Like It's okay to fail. It's okay to iterate. I- like, but in a startup world, and when you are a founder, I think it's also important to get what you think is going to work, and literally burn the boats, burn all the other options, and really focus very hard. Like, I really like this burn the boats expression. So in ancient Greece, Greece, they have like a lot of different islands, and they were attacking. The army was attacking, trying to conquer um, other islands, and there was a few times. This happened a few times in history, not only in Greece but also in other places, where the army or a small battalion arrives to an island, and the general orders the soldiers to burn the boats so that they cannot turn back. They either conquer the
Mm,
islands or they die. So you kind of need to either conquer your markets or die trying. This is not to say that if it is not a good idea, that you should still like fight to make that idea work. Of course, if you see that the idea, okay, this is not working, is too early, maybe the market doesn't understand your business yet, okay, maybe you can pivot, or you can change, it's okay to do that. But the focus is in focus and burning all the other boats that you have. It's kind of important to focus on what matters. Yeah.
mhm. Okay. And so I would guess, are you talking to many AI startups these days, or like not very many?
uh, Yeah, okay. These days, AI specifically, not really, but I've been working quite a bit with Deepin infrastructure. Deepin
Mm-hmm.
stands for decentralized physical infrastructure, and I think Deepin will absolutely revolutionize AI. So I've
I
been
agree.
working. Sorry, you agree? Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, 100%.
Yeah, like, so I've been very close to this project called Peak, Peaq. Peak is a deep in
Hmm. Yeah.
infrastructure project. They will have the token live very soon. And I was also not only Hashkey, but I also invested in this startup. And the thing with Peak and deep in infrastructure is that it's going to break down the silos that are the bottlenecks and constraints for sharing data with AI. So at the moment, imagine you have EVs, you have solar panels, batteries, fridges, computer equipment, computer networks, industrial equipment, commodities, insurance, sensors everywhere, real estate. And all these things are producing data, but they don't share data with anyone. And why will
Mm-hmm.
they share? Because there are no incentives to share data. However, with deep in networks like Peak, these any device in the world, any sensor, any camera, any industrial equipment, anything that has sensors, electric vehicles, charging stations, batteries, they can now share data and feed an AI and be rewarded for that. And this will be like a huge industry, huge, because you can imagine, like, okay, well, now we have all these AIs that are large language models, but they are highly limited regarding the data that they have. There is no AI that you can go and ask about real estate data and robotics data and industrial equipment data and EV data and solar panel data, because this data is not there available, and this is data that is very hard to get to train AIs. But now imagine that we break down these silos, because each machine can have an identity on a DP network. With this identity, can share data, be rewarded for sharing the data, can share data, can communicate with other machines, make payments, receive payments, and open up, like, the possibilities are like huge, huge, and I'm super excited for for how Deepin can enable AI. Of course, there are now there are other things that Deepin is already allowing. Like um, crypto projects like Render Network or IO.net. It's more about the GPU side, so it's more like digital physical infrastructure where you can where you can basically use idle GPUs across the world to for AI purposes. So that's the main Deepin use case at the moment, but I think we'll have way more out there. Yeah. What
Mm,
do you think?
yeah, I 100% agree that Deepin. I mean, it's difficult to say now that it. Okay, no, it's difficult to say when it happens because I don't think it will be in the very short term. But there is definitely huge, huge benefits of Deepin for society, for the users. The reason why I'm kind of a bit mm, kind of cautious here is because again, as with blockchain as a currency, we have some huge pushback from governments, from big organizations. So in terms of DPIN, it is a direct threat to like huge corporations like Amazon and others. So um, it is interesting how this will play out and how this not technology but this kind of idea will survive these big corporations and the competition with them. And the interesting thing is that the values of that for the end user are on one side are very obvious. It's like privacy, security, and stuff like that. But the thing is, the general public doesn't really care about that. I mean, if you will ask a random person, is he does he care about privacy of his data? He'll probably say yes. But in terms of actions, he won't do anything. Like he will still store his files on Google Drive and all that stuff. So while the values are very kind of obvious, it is difficult to understand how we kind of reach the tipping point because people really care about the comfort of using something rather than the actual like values like privacy, security, and stuff like that.
Mhm. Yeah, I totally agree with you. Like most users, most people just want convenience. They don't care that much about security. As long as I can use it and it's easy to use, I will use it, right? And that's why
Yeah,
like that's why crypto mass adoption is still not there because sometimes it's not very convenient, right? Okay, although it's very easy to
exactly.
send to send a crypto transaction, I can send you some USDT from my MetaMask, but then oh, my USDT on MetaMask. Actually, I don't have on MetaMask. I need to connect my Ledger wallet. Okay, I just send you a bank transfer. Okay, it's just easier.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, but I think how individuals are going to get excited about this is because of the incentives. In the deep in space, you have already some apps that reward the users for activities, for proof
Mhm.
of work, actually real work activities. So on Peak, for example,
Mhm.
we have these two apps that I really like. One is called Natix. Natix, you can basically put your camera, like to use it as a dash cam. So you are driving around, you put your camera or your mobile phone, and you are recording the street, and this recording
Mhm.
is basically training an AI to that is going to be used for self-driving cars or to understand the roads and so on. And you are rewarded for that with a token. And you also have an app called Silencio. Silencio is trying to map noise around the world, and you just simply install the app, and you have it turned on your phone to measure noise, whatever the place you are, and you are rewarded with tokens. So when people, okay, I don't care so much about security, generally speaking, but when it comes to making money, kind of people start to kind of wake up. And I think the other thing is that with Deepin, you can tokenize machines, right? And people can have ownership over these machines, which gives the individual a huge sovereignty. Um, Instead of having to rely on big corporations, I can rely on a very small community of people that want to do something. Let me give you an example. So imagine until now you used to have taxis, and then Uber came and kind of democratized the access to this kind of service. So anyone could be an Uber driver, but you still, as a user of Uber, you don't have any revenue sharing from Uber app. But now imagine an app, and this is actually already out there. It's called eLoop. On eLoop, they basically tokenized a fleet of Tesla that you can rent using the eLoop app. And you can rent by the
Hmm.
kilometer or by the hour. You drive around, you make the payment with your eLoop wallet. You make it, you pay with crypto or fiat, and this fleet of Teslas is tokenized. So you can be a token owner, token holder of this fleet of Teslas, and you basically have ownership of part of these Teslas, and you receive on-chain, real-time cash flow from the activity of those cars. So imagine cars are going around. I think they are at the moment they are in Austria, and they are going to expand to other countries. But imagine they have this bunch of cars. People are renting these cars every day, and you can see real time the revenue coming to your wallet from people paying for renting these cars. So this gives like the users real ownership. It gives you financial incentives, and like, oh, it's interesting, like, because now you can be a shareholder of a small fleet of 5 or 10 Teslas that are walking around being rented. Um, and these, like, can you
Yeah,
imagine like the use cases for this, right?
I personally obviously can imagine that. I've been like in crypto since 2017. I understand all of these values. I share them. But in terms, and Deepin seems to me like another revolution potentially. But again, why do you think we don't see the mass adoption of Deepin uh, yet? Then, if all these benefits are there, uh,
Hmm. Um, I think maybe because it's still quite recent. Um, I know, like, since I also joined crypto like in 2017, and pretty much since 2017, you hear about the convergence of IoT with crypto, and basically DeepIn is IoT and blockchain together, kind of. Um,
mhm.
and the use cases were not there yet, I think, for maybe a couple of reasons. One is technical reasons. There was no blockchain that was tailor made um, to actually accommodate these kind of use cases. And I think there is maybe some regulatory reasons too, because when you tokenize a fleet of Teslas and you have access to on-chain revenue, is this a security token or not? Can it be sold to the public or not? I think there are like some regulatory questions there. Um, yeah, and I think like then it's just general awareness and having developers developing interesting products. But I think we will start seeing these deepin applications really growing a lot over the next 1 or 2 years. Now people have more awareness, developers have more awareness. Um, I would really pay very close attention to. deepin use cases and deepin networks.
Yeah, me too. I 100% agree. I And in terms of the apps, there are quite a few DPN like companies and apps already out there in all possible directions. It's decentralized Wi-Fi networks, phone networks, decentralized cloud computing, this like a lot of stuff. Uh,
Mhm.
and I still think that they won't go mainstream for probably at least another blockchain cycle, which I mean,
Mhm.
we have 1 year in this cycle and next 4 years. So probably I would bet that not in another 5 years, which is good for us who are inside this industry because it creates a lot of opportunities. Because before people are there, you still have a way to buy cheap. You have a way to join these projects early, so it's good for us who are inside this industry. But um, I don't really think Deepin will kind of go mainstream in the next couple of years, but it's just me.
Yeah, I think I agree. It will take time. It will take time because, especially because we are talking about physical infrastructure. So it's not just downloading something to your computer. In many cases, it's about actually investing in capex, investing in like physical stuff. So yeah, I agree. It might take some time, but the like I feel like very excited about the fact that this gives brings individuals way more sovereignty, because like so far the internet is just data, right? Like we we have been breaking up from the ties that we used to have with big corporations or big governments. If you don't like your country, you can move to another country. If you don't like a big
Mhm.
corporation that is like social media or keeping your data, now you can choose other alternatives. So you can kind of almost live like uh, off, let's say, off grid when it comes to big governments and big corporations, right? You can opt out from those, but you still need to use the infrastructure every day. Like you need to use called Uber, you need to certain things you still need to use it, right? But bringing these use cases to Web3, to the next evolution of the internet, brings you the possibility of having ownership of not only your digital side of Web3, your digital life, but having ownership also of the physical side. And that's really very amazing in terms of like the sovereignty that you can have over things. Like imagine one day you can opt out totally from traditional corporations and big governments, because you can have ownership over your decentralized physical infrastructure, uh, your digital identities, and so on.
I
So I
really
think
would
the future,
love
yeah.
it because the like what I noticed over the last probably 10, 15 years is that the big IT companies like service providers, different SaaS, they are like kind of becoming monopolies, and because of that, my main kind of the observation is that their support is getting worse and worse, and like you basically sometimes you can get like the experience I had today, literally. So I've been Dropbox user for like many years. A few like some time ago, I asked the support if I moved to from my personal essentials plan to business plan, like a team plan. Can I easily go back if I want to? They said, yeah, it's easy. So today I was having some questions, and the support agent gave me an instruction, after following which I removed my account.
Oh. But
Yeah, one point.
did you lose your stuff?
I mean, I'm pretty sure they will restore it, but I basically am stripped of my all of my data for God knows how many hours or days.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
hopefully
crazy. Yeah.
Deepin will solve that, and at least to some point where we probably, I mean, obviously support in say crypto projects is even worse, but I think the promise here is you will be able to make your own decisions rather than rely on the decisions made by these companies on your behalf.
Yeah, totally, totally. Yeah, you know, I had an experience similar to yours. Like recently, uh, like one of these experiences with companies that's like, oh my god. So, have you ever tried to cancel your Adobe subscription?
Oh,
It's abs.
I actually don't have it, but I saw that all in the news. Yeah, half a year, right?
Oh my god! Like recently, I had like a few Adobe subscriptions: the Adobe Photo Stock, and maybe also Photoshop, and Adobe Premiere for video editing. And I wanted to downsize and just have the Adobe Premiere. It's absolutely crazy to cancel. You simply you cannot cancel, and you need to renew for one more year, and then you need to cancel only on a certain date, and like they make your life so hard to cancel. It's like, oh my god. And after that, like I was like, okay, how can I profit from this? I'm going to buy the Adobe stock. Maybe maybe I can like profit from the fact that they're like getting all my money, right? Like, but yeah, sometimes these corporations are get it gets a bit out of hand in terms of the control that they have.
I wonder how is the Adobe stock today because literally over the next few days or maybe a week there was a huge rant uh, exactly about the problem you mentioned. Like a lot of viral videos that Adobe is basically robbing their clients.
Oh, I didn't
Uh,
know.
yeah, like it's really a
Yeah.
big thing now. You should check out the YouTube videos. How's it?
Hmm.
Adobe stock price. Let's see. How is it? One day, 1 year. No, it's actually interesting. So let's say 1 month. It's actually weird. It was actually growing over the last month.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Because there are literally like these videos are all of my YouTube feed, and like every day I see another video with like 5 million views or whatever, telling that Adobe is like the worst company on earth. They're like robbing their clients, and it's yeah, that's insane that their stock is still rising in spite despite this.
Yeah, maybe it's already priced in. You know, it's already the shareholders. They already know that Adobe is like that.
Yeah, crazy,
Maybe
crazy.
that's maybe that's the reason why the stock is going up.
Hmm. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, okay, yeah, probably need to see a bit later, maybe in another month or so, because it's happening literally right now.
Yeah.
Okay, so Henry also mentioned you are like sci-fi. You are writing some books on sci-fi. One of the things I discuss with all of the AI Champ guests is AI risks and AI anxiety. So, what do you think are the risks of AI? How do you think we can work with them? And if there are any risks that you don't see any solution to?
Hmm. Yeah, great question. You know, like I think in um, any black swan events that we had in the past, no one or almost no one could predict those events or those risks until the moment it happens, right? All the big issues, big crashes, big wars, big like everything that happened, you only know once it's already happening. So it's a bit hard to. I know that a lot of people try to predict like AI related risks, but I think those things are very unpredictable, and it's very hard to say at the moment. Okay, this or that can happen. Saying this, I'm not saying that there are no risks. I think there are risks, but probably they are hidden, and it's very hard to predict them. I try to see more the positive sides. Like in any technology over the last 200 years, people people are always afraid of the technologies that come, right? 150 years ago or so, when the car was invented, people were afraid that was going to displace the horse industry, right? And like, now what do you do with all these horses? What do you do with people that manufacture horse related stuff? Are they going to be all unemployed, right? Or 150 years ago, 75% of the population was employed in agriculture, and the machines came and start to replace people that work in agriculture. Are they Did they all become unemployed? No, because these things take time, take take dozens of years. And then we had industrial revolution, then we have electricity revolution in manufacturing, then we have the information revolution, and now we are having the AI revolution. And when people are afraid, oh my God, AI is going to displace all the jobs, we are going to be all unemployed, we will need universal basic income. I think those things are not likely to happen, because first it takes time, and second, I think we humans will find something else to do. When I was a kid, I remember when I was like 7, 8, 9 years old, I used to go to the post office with my mom, and there was like 10 people working at the post office, sorting letters manually, writing stuff manually, and so on. Now I go to the same post office and you have two or three employees. Why do we have two or three? Because most of them were replaced by computers, by basic AIs that are reading the letters, the addresses, and sort the letters according to their addresses. So now you need uh, 10, 3 people in a post office instead of 10. It doesn't mean that they are all unemployed. People just move, reskill their skills, find something else, or retire if they are too old. So I don't think I see job displacement as an issue. Um, I also don't see AGI as an issue. I think we are still very far from like AGI AIs that are capable of like doing everything or having some consciousness and revolutionizing against humans. I
What's your
think generally
guess on
speaking,
the
just
age? What's your guess on the timeline of the AGI?
AGI. I think maybe like 15 years more.
Hmm.
What's your timeline
It's
for
interesting.
AGI?
I, Yesterday I was driving and I realized that, say, 5, 10 years ago, and before, we were the question was if. Now it's a question when. So now nobody is basically. Uh, and- I mean, and to think of it, it's just crazy because, like, just few years ago, like, there was, wow, that it would be great to create that AI that will be thinking, talking with you, like solving practical tasks and stuff like that. But we
Mhm.
were like not sure if it's even possible, and we were not. I mean, there were a lot of different AI approaches, but there was nothing kind of pointing to the fact that we are kind of close to it. And now we're seriously discussing when. So when the question if is not on the agenda anymore, it's it's mind blowing to think of it.
Yeah, totally, totally. Uh, yeah, totally agree. I think it will still take a few years, but it will definitely come. I totally agree with you. Now, when it will it come and at what price? I think it depends on different factors. You know, the computing power that is necessary is still very huge and it's not there yet. Um, I don't know if we will have the necessary developments in superconductors or in quantum computing. Having a new super efficient superconductor or having quantum computing that actually works could definitely accelerate AGI coming. Um, yeah, but at the moment, I think still a few years. Yeah, and also
Mhm.
AGI. I don't know. AGI it will also be constrained by the fact that we have physical devices, right? AGI, even
Mhm.
if we have AGI, it will never be at the level of like a human because humans we are multi-dimensional. We are in this world. We can move around, and even if you have an AGI, where is your AGI? Is it inside your phone? Inside your computer? It's always kind of limited, physically limited, right? Which is also
Mm,
good. If the AI goes crazy, we can shut it down.
yeah, so I think an interesting stance on this. One of my previous episodes of AI Champs I had with Neil Spill, founder and CEO of Auke Labs. They're also a Deepin project doing the decentralized spatial computing, and I'm I like. I mean, obviously he's biased, but I think he has a point in terms of one of the important things. One, not like it's not everything, but one of the crucial things that is missing, that current AIs are missing to kind of make another step towards an AGI is basically physical perception, like perception of
Mhm.
where you are, what's happening around, and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
to your point, obviously, right now we're not there yet, but I don't think it's unsolvable for an AI to have um, understanding of their physical environment.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That raises interesting questions because okay, imagine you have an AI. Imagine you have the best cameras and sensors and different types of sensors to collect data, but it will never really sense the world the same way a physical body, human body, can sense. Right? We have our, you know, our senses and the way we feel the environment around us and the way we collect data, we it will always be very different from an AI. But now saying this, I wanted to ask you. I don't know if you saw. Probably, I'm sure you saw. They are training AIs where they put brain cells, right, and then they train the brain cells on the top of a computer chip, right. So actually, they are this AI is enhanced with actual brain cells.
No, I
Uh,
haven't seen that. Do you
oh,
remember the company or something?
let me quickly see. Uh, Let me quickly find it. I think if you Google search brain
Mm-hmm.
cells AI, you can find like a bunch of news. I'm also going to share with you one of these. This is all super recent.
Yeah, I see one.
Uh,
Oh, it was basically all in December last year. I mean,
Yeah,
the kind of the PR push was 11th of December last year.
yeah,
Interesting. Yeah, they have also a paper on that. Yeah, that's interesting. I'll check it out. Thank
yeah.
you.
They call it these biocomputers, and
Yeah, yeah.
uh, and this is interesting because while normal AIs, normal computer chips are limited to the physical limitations of like electric circuits and electricity and like how silicon works, your brain is actually super fast. The synapses of the brain and the way our brain cells communicate is like thousands of times faster than
Hmm.
a computer. And so putting brain cells on as part of this AI on the computer chip to train the AI, it makes it way faster and way more energy efficient too. Because again, a computer chip alone will need tons of electricity. GPUs need tons of electricity, while brain cells, the energy cost it's 1,000 times lower.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
it's
there's
very
actually
interesting. Yeah.
actually a very interesting development in the same sphere. It's called neuromorphic computers. Have you
Oh,
heard of that?
yeah,
So it's
yeah, yeah. I
basically
heard of
doing
it.
the same thing, but it's trying to mimic how the brain works. So as far like if I understood it correctly, so the main problem with the current computers and why they're kind of slower than the brain is the fact that the computers store the data. So the data and the processing happens in different places. So most of the energy is spent actually on just passing the data back and forth from the storage to the compute point. And so while the neurons, they basically are both the processors and the store kind of storage of information. So you don't need the energy to pass the information back and forth. And that's what neuromorphic computing is trying to mimic, is basically doing the storage and the compute at the same physical kind of point.
Yeah. Now, Tony, imagine you can get some stem cells from your body, transform them into brain cells, grow brain cells, Tony's brain cells, and then train your personal AI with your own brain cells. How
That's
crazy is that?
creepy.
It's creepy,
That's
but the
creepy.
technology is already there, you know? Like,
Yeah, but to that point, I don't think kind of growing my brain cells will actually contain any information, kind of any of my personal information. It will contain my
yeah,
DNA. But as far
yeah,
as I
yeah,
know, we like DNA doesn't store our personality. So
yeah,
it's a
exactly.
cool. I mean, it's actually a creepy one because you will have another kind of creature that is as that is you in terms of DNA, but that is like an AI. This one is really creepy.
Yeah. Yeah, but according to what I read, this can be very promising because your brain cells, you can feed them just like a liquid with some nutrients, so it requires way
Mhm.
less energy, and the cost of maintaining it is actually way lower uh, when compared to like GPU, a data center, or something like that. But now the problem is like ethically speaking, I don't know, like you have like a living being there. You have, okay, it's just a small like node of brain cells, but is it alive? Like the ethical considerations, I don't know.
Yeah, they're open ended. Still, I mean, we didn't really. We're now stepping into the kind of realm of trying to create ethics in the world where there will be more than one conscious species, while at the same time we don't really figure it out for like the world with just one conscious species like us humans. So that's
Yeah.
both interesting and slightly scary.
Yeah, sure.
but definitely exciting.
Yeah, it's really
Okay,
exciting.
so yeah, Henry, thank you very much. It was a great and then very interesting conversation. I'm pretty sure our listeners will find a lot of interesting, both practical wise and philosophical wise, and for our viewers and listeners. So you can see on the screen a couple of links where you can find Henry, his Medium, where he posts a lot of articles about AI, Web3, and his Udemy courses. And if you have an AI or Web3 startup you feel is worth looking at, I think you can also send it Henry's way.
Yeah, Tony, thank you so much for inviting me. It was really a great conversation, and I'm sure we could talk for a few more hours, but maybe next
Yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah. We'll do another round. We'll do another round.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.
Good to see you. Bye bye.